Yo, good morning. Welcome back to another episode of the Swiss. Quick recap of yesterday. We did finish down. Top hits went 2-2, which isn't terrible, but as a whole, the ticket finished down. Some of us in the Discord made the irresponsible decision. You shouldn't do this, but we made the irresponsible decision of going all in on the Bengals because we were down from the earlier games. And then we live bet the under, or some of us did. So a lot of us made all of it back last night, but I'm not condoning. That's not a smart move. Chasing your losses is not the answer. It just happened to work out for us last night. So we got another NFL week where it comes down to Monday Night Football. If I win tonight, it'll be a winning week. If I lose tonight, it'll be a losing week. So let's take a look. We got Chargers on the road at MetLife to play the Jets. Jets are catching 3.5 points at home here. That's a number that's up from 3. Total sitting at 39.5, which is down. It was at like 42.5, 43 earlier in the week. So let's do it.
Welcome to the Swiss. The Swiss. Swiss. Hey, get the Swiss.
So like I said earlier this week, back on Tuesday morning, this line was sitting at an even 3. Action was coming in heavy on the Chargers at that number. They bet it up to 3.5. But now that it's at 3.5, the Jets are starting to look like a pretty public dog here. If you like the Jets, it's probably advisable to get your bet in now in case it drops back down to 3. I don't know if it will, but it's juiced towards the Jets. So there's a chance it does drop back down to 3. We'll start with some injury reports. Chargers offensively, Mike Williams obviously still out. I think he's out for the year. Joshua Palmer, he's one of the wide receivers that would see extended snaps with Mike Williams being out. He's also out. So the Chargers will still have Keenan Allen and Quentin Johnston on the field. But other than that, they're definitely really thin at wide receiver. Center Corey Linsley is still out. He hasn't played since week 3. He's actually out with a heart condition or a heart issue or something. It's from what I read, it seems pretty serious. I don't think there's any timetable for his return. On the defensive side for the Chargers, we got 3 guys on the injury report. Eric Kendricks is almost definitely going to play, though. I mean, he hasn't missed the practice all week, and he wasn't even limited on Friday. The other 2 don't quite look as optimistic. Well, actually, I think Kenneth Murray is going to play. He practiced on Friday and Saturday, so I would say he's a toss-up, more likely leaning towards playing. But Sebastian Joseph Day hasn't practiced all week, didn't practice on Saturday, so I would imagine he probably doesn't play. On the Jets side, still dealing with serious injuries on that offensive line. There are now 3 starters out that won't be in this game. Connor McGovern is the only one that's new. He just got hurt in the Giants game last week. And that one's tough because Vera Tucker, who's supposed to be starting at guard, he was actually playing tackle with Dwayne Brown out. Then Vera Tucker went down a couple weeks ago. Now that McGovern's hurt, and one of their backup guards, Wes Schweitzer, I think is how you say his name, he's also out. So the Jets are going to have their 5th guard on the depth chart starting in this game. Good news for the Jets would be as far as their starting defense, they're completely good to go. They actually do have a decent amount of injuries to their depth defensively. I think the Jets have 8 defensive players on the IR right now. But as far as all the main pieces, the starting pieces, they're all healthy and ready to go. So let's match these 2 teams up on the field. And there's one simple question we need answered. It's about last week's Sunday Night Football game. What we saw from Justin Herbert. Was that him getting healthier, that finger? Was that him finally feeling right? Was that him figuring it out? Maybe developing the connection with rookie Quentin Johnston? I mean, Herbert threw for 298 yards, 3 touchdowns, a 123 passer rating. The 3 games before that, just 217 yards per game, 3 touchdowns, 3 picks, and a 75 passer rating. So do we think that was Justin Herbert's finger getting better? Or was it simply because he was at home against the Chicago Bears pass defense? Because if we know for a fact that Justin Herbert's all the way back and he's going to be playing at a Pro Bowl level moving forward for the rest of the season, then we have to be leaning towards the Chargers at a short number like 3.5. Couple things to consider here, though. Obviously, the first one being the Jets' defense against the pass. They've been excellent against the pass this year. They've got the best corners in the NFL, and it shows. On the season, the Jets are 4th in yards per pass attempt allowed, 6th in DVOA, 5th in PFF coverage grade. The last quarterback that came into MetLife Stadium and tried throwing the ball in the Jets' secondary was Jalen Hurts. He was just 28 of 45. He dropped back to pass 45 times, just 280 yards, 1 touchdown, 3 picks, a 59 passer rating. That was by far his worst game of the season. Want to know who the quarterback was before that who tried coming into MetLife and throwing the ball in this Jets secondary? Patrick Mahomes. just 18 of 30, 203 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 picks, a 63 passer rating, his second worst game of the season. The only 2 quarterbacks this season that even had decent games throwing the ball against the Jets were Dak Prescott and Russell Wilson, and both those games were on the road. At home, they've seen Jalen Hurts, Patrick Mahomes, Mac Jones, I'll give you that one, and Josh Allen. None of them were able to have efficient days throwing the ball on this Jets defense. The way to move the ball on this Jets defense is to run it. I mean, not that the Jets run defense is bad, but it is beatable. They're 22nd in yards per carry allowed, 18th in DVOA, 8th in PFF run defense grade. Here's the problem with that. The Chargers can't run the ball. They started off the season with a big game on the ground against the Dolphins in week 1. Then it just disappeared. And some people are saying, oh, well, that's because Eckler's been out. But you know what? Austin Eckler's been back for 2 games now, and the run game isn't there. Since returning, Austin Eckler's had 29 carries for just 74 yards, 2.55 yards per carry. So I do not have a ton of faith in the Chargers offense going on the road into MetLife and putting up a big number on the scoreboard against this Jets defense. Jets have been shutting down dangerous offenses all season. On the other side of the ball, the Chargers pass defense is basically the complete opposite of the Jets pass defense. It's one of the worst in the NFL. They're 32nd in yards per pass attempt allowed, so dead last. 26th in DVOA, 28th in PFF coverage grade. Look at the Chargers' 3 road games so far this season. Patrick Mahomes went ballistic, 424 yards and 4 touchdowns. Kirk Cousins went off, 367 yards and 3 touchdowns. And even Ryan Tannehill had himself a day, 123 passer rating. That's the only game all season where Tannehill's had a passer rating above 100, was against this Chargers defense. And I know, we're dealing with Zach Wilson here. I get it. But Zach Wilson hasn't been quite that bad recently. It was looking ugly through his first 3 games, but in the last 4 games, he really hasn't been that bad. 156 yards per game up to 218. Passer rating is up from 60 to 84. He's been all right. The best way to summarize Zach Wilson's play the last 4 weeks, he's been playing well enough not to lose you the game. And I think that's all you can ask for from this kid at this point. Here's a positive angle for Zach Wilson. This one's a little thin, but I thought it was worth mentioning. Chargers run a lot of man coverage. 6th highest man coverage frequency in the NFL. Not that Zach Wilson's been great against man coverage, but he's definitely had more success against man than he has against zone. Zach Wilson, 23rd and 26th in passer rating and net yards per attempt against man coverage, 30th and 29th against zone coverage. Also, listen to this. No quarterback in the NFL has seen more man coverage than Zach Wilson. Whether it's the teams they've played, maybe they've played a lot of man-heavy teams, or maybe it's a strategy being used against them. It's tough to say. But Zach Wilson has seen man coverage on 58.2% of his dropbacks. That's the highest in the NFL. So the Chargers' man-heavy defense shouldn't catch the Jets' offense off guard. I know it's crazy to count on Zach Wilson to have a big day throwing the ball. But we saw Ryan Tannehill have a great game on this defense. So I don't think it's crazy to count on Zach Wilson to make a few plays through the air and get the ball into the end zone a couple times. His passing total is set at 214. So the market's expecting Zach Wilson to make some plays through the air in this game. It's worth mentioning. Here's where it gets a little dicey for me. I don't think we can count on the Jets running the ball in this one. I know they're averaging 4.9 yards per carry as a team this year, which is 3rd in the NFL, but all of the underlying numbers are bad. 24th in DVOA, 24th in PFF rushing grade. Breece Hall's last 2 games combined, 24 carries, 56 yards, just 2.33 yards per carry. He's made some plays catching the ball out of the backfield, but as far as taking handoffs between the tackles, Jets' run game really hasn't been there. So I expect both offenses to struggle here, which means field position is important. So let's talk special teams. I don't bring special teams numbers up very often. This one's especially one-sided though. Jets are number 1 in the NFL in special teams DVOA. Chargers all the way back at 23rd. Always helps to win the field position battle. Couple things before we get to the final picks. The Justin Herbert second half trend, and this one comes from Toast. This is a Toast exclusive. Justin Herbert, 7-22-2 against the spread in the second half when leading at halftime. I'm told that is the second worst in NFL history since they started recording that. So you know right off the bat, if the Chargers have the lead entering halftime, bet the Jets to cover the number live. Another Justin Herbert stat. Since 2020, Justin Herbert has thrown 13 interceptions in the fourth quarter of one-score games. That's the most in the NFL in that span by far. The next closest is 8. Now, obviously, I'm saying that a little bit tongue-in-cheek because I mean, maybe he's been in a lot more one-score games than other quarterbacks. And if you really wanted to evaluate that, you would have to incorporate the amount of pass attempts they've had in that situation and use the efficiency numbers. But I read it on The Athletic and thought it was interesting enough to share. Another negative trend for the Chargers, last season they were 1-6 against teams who finished the year with a winning record. This year, 0-3 against teams that currently have a winning record. You know what? The Jets fit that mold. They're currently 4-3, so they fall under that category. Got an underdog pick 'em for this. It's a 3-pick. This one comes from me. Prop Beaver hit his 5-piece on the live show yesterday. That was awesome. But this one comes from me. It's Keenan Allen lower than 74.5 receiving yards. Breece Hall lower than 57.5 rushing yards. Austin Eckler higher than 84.5 rushing and receiving yards. That's a 3-pick, so it pays out 6 times if it hits. If you don't have an Underdog fantasy account, it's available in any state highlighted in this map. So if you're in one of these states, go over to Underdog Fantasy, the website, or download the app. When you make your account, make sure you use the promo code BET, B-E-T. That'll get you a $500 deposit match. So if you deposit $500, they will give you a free $500 to play with. That's the promo code BET. As far as what I'm taking in this game, well, you already know I'm taking the under at 39.5. You kind of have to at this point. Primetime unders just continue to cash at an insane rate. I don't know how we could possibly bet an over in a primetime game right now until that trend starts to shift the other way. So I'm going to take the under at 39.5, and I'll take the Jets at plus 3.5. Don't love that it's turning into a public dog, but pretty confident that this is the right side to be on. Jets defense is a tough matchup for that Chargers offense, so give me the under at 39.5. Jets plus 3.5. If you want our top bets for all sports, parlays of the day, or if you want to join our Discord, anything like that, head over to KyleKirms.com. The information is right on the homepage. Let's finish week 9 strong. Wasn't the greatest Sunday, but let's bounce back here. Remember to bet responsibly, and I'll talk to you in the Discord.